Welcome to the first edition of the America's Auto Repair CPA's monthly episode of the GPS, your Business Success Podcast. Hi, I'm Nick Papacoricos, founder of Papacoricos CPAs. I don't believe there's another CPA firm in the United States that knows more about how auto repair shops make or don't make money than our team. Gathered from 37 years of working with small and medium-sized businesses, including auto repair shops in particular, we're very excited to share many of the ideas we've learned and continue to learn from our experience with the auto repair industry. This series is designed to walk you through how successful auto repair shops operate and help your shop become one of the best. Each episode builds on the prior ones. If you follow this advice, you can't help but improve your business to become better financially. This is not going to be about numbers or finances, though sometimes we'll talk about those things as well. It's about helping your auto shop rise far above the other 131,000 independent auto shops around the country. Most of these shops, sad to say, are shops that create the bad reputation of this industry. Most of these shops are the ones good customers are terrified of, and most of these shops are the ones your customers will pay a premium to avoid going to. What you'll come to realize is that it isn't really that hard to stand high above in this industry. You just have to do some really simple things, primarily focused on integrity and building trust. We'll help your shop become the go-to shop in your area, the one with the great reviews and raving fans for customers. I also want to thank our sponsors for a moment here. Steer CRM, the Steer CRM platform, helps auto repair shops acquire new customers and drives existing customers back to the shop for regular maintenance and service. AutoShopAnswers.com, the auto industry disruptors is what I call them. In my opinion, the best automotive training program in the United States. Training is led by auto repair industry veteran Todd Hayes, who also serves as the Chief Operating Officer of Adams Automotive, and focuses on helping all repair shop owners understand the concept behind the $1 million per month shop, Adams Automotive in Houston. How do they do it? By changing the way auto shops do business. If you own an auto repair shop and you want to be the place that people rave about to their family, friends, and on social media, and are financially successful beyond what you are today, you owe it to yourself to attend. The course is offered monthly in Houston with limited seating. Registration is always open for upcoming classes held once a month at AutoShopAnswers.com. If you don't sign up, trust me, your competition is. Don't get left in the dust, get into the pole position. And Papacoricos CPAs, your partners in success, where we offer proactive advice you can understand and want to follow, and fixed fee pricing. Speaking of proactive advice, I had a prospect recently ask me, is it too much to expect my CPA to provide me with ideas and advice? Seems like every time I come up with an idea, it's because a pop-up showed up on my phone, my hairstylist or my lawn care person suggested it to me, or just one of my friends mentioned it at a get-together. Well, the short answer is no, that's not too much to expect, and unfortunately, it isn't provided in so many cases. When we say proactive advice, it's based on the fact that all of our service plans are based on continuing involvement with you, getting to know you, your business, what your goals are, what challenges you face, and what your plan of success is.
Look, I don't have time to play around, okay? So how much is it?
All of it, boy.
And that's a clip from the movie Vacation, when the main character, Clark Griswold, brings his car in for repair. Well, thanks for joining us this week. This is, as I mentioned, the first episode in our series of auto repair industry podcasts, and it's on the topic of integrity. Well, thank you for joining us this week. This is episode 18 of the GPS, your Business Success Podcast, but it's also the first monthly episode of the America's Auto Repair CPAs podcast. I call it The Honest Mechanic. Could just as be easily entitled Integrity. About 40 years ago, an American minister and author by the name of Robert Fulghum published a book It was titled, All I Really Need to Know I Learned in Kindergarten. It's become pretty popular over the last 40 years. And the whole focus is that really there are some simple truths in life that we learn that we probably should have and probably did learn in kindergarten, getting along with our classmates. And that's our first real adventure in being in the outside world, outside of your family. Well, when we talk about auto repair shops, integrity is a really important concept to make sure you understand and really fully integrate into your business. There are 175,000 auto repair shops in the United States, and 75% of those, or about 131,000 of them, are independently owned, meaning they're owned by you, your next door neighbor, somebody in your neighborhood, and most importantly, they're probably all owned by people who started out in life as auto mechanics, found that they had a passion for vehicles, for cars, played around with their cars as they grew up, fixed them themselves, went to work as a mechanic, maybe went to trade school to get some special training, but found themselves being a wonderful mechanic and decided to go into business for themselves. As you've heard me say many times before, the skills you need to be a really good auto mechanic do not necessarily equate to the skills you need to run a good auto repair shop business. Well, from my perspective, think of it this way when you think about integrity. I am probably your typical customer. I'd like to think I'm your ideal customer. I'm not looking for the cheapest price for my car to be fixed, though I certainly don't want to be overcharged. I want somebody, most important, that I can trust because I don't know what the heck I'm talking about when it comes to cars. I don't want to wait too long for my car to be serviced, which is what I experience when I go to the dealership. I'm concerned about my safety and my family's safety when they're in their vehicles. I don't want any undiagnosed problems to pop up when my children are on the road on a trip and my wife or I are about to leave on a vacation, whatever the case may be. If I own a business and I have a fleet of vehicles that help me serve my customers and run my business, let's say a plumber or an electrician, I want to make sure that I have the ability to run my business with vehicles that will be reliable and that won't not break down needlessly. And just as importantly, when my mechanic says to me, Nick, it's time to get rid of this truck, it's past its useful life, I want to be able to believe you. I want to continue to use this person, this shop. I don't want to have to worry every time that I have a car repair or a truck repair that I'm going to be cheated and treated unfairly. The horror stories are real. People replace parts that don't need to be replaced, such as brakes that are not really worn. How many times have we heard stories of customer going to a shop, even a dealership, and they're being told that your brakes are worn, they're 75% gone, whatever the number may be, and somebody goes and gets a second opinion and is told that they have 6 more months, a year, whatever the case may be. And to add to the confusion, that person is able to prove to this person, here's what a fully brand new brake pad looks like, here's what one looks like gone, and here's what yours look like. Point is, I don't want to have to feel like I have to go and get second quotes every time I have an auto repair. I want the person to be trustworthy. I've had people tell me stories of in their history working for auto repair shops when they first went into the business. Might be a gas station that does some repair work, and the owner tells this newbie mechanic to take the person's alternator out, tell the person that the alternator is gone, and then, if you can believe this, and I'm sure if you're an auto mechanic listening to this, you do believe it, the person is told to spray paint the alternator. The same alternator they took out of the car, give it a new coat of spray paint, put it back in the car, and tell the customer this is a new alternator. I mean, it's quite honestly sickening that people would do this. Why do people do this? Why do people lie? There's a million reasons. You think of what it's like to be an independent auto repair shop. There are 175,000 auto repair shops, and 131,000 of them are independents. In your location, in your neighborhood, in your town, there's probably many, many, many auto repair shops. And you may feel that business isn't quite what it should be. I need the business, therefore I feel pressure to do something like that. Now, this is not a philosophical episode here. We're not going to talk about what's right or wrong. I'm going to assume that you know what's right and what's wrong, and obviously that is a wrong thing to do. People will misdiagnose minor repairs and call them expensive repairs for the same reason. Some people will go so far as to sabotage your vehicle so that it will need repairs again. They might make false claims about warranties. I typically buy an extended warranty on my vehicles, and once the new car warranty is gone, my understanding is that I can bring that that car anywhere that services my vehicle, and the warranty will be covered. But I don't know enough about that, and if my auto mechanic says to me it's not covered, or even if the dealership tells me it's not covered, I have to believe that's there. There are a million secondary market types of insurance companies out there as well. Again, mechanic tells me it's not covered, I either have to believe that, or I have to go make calls myself and try to find this out. Point is this: when I, the typical consumer, bring my car to be repaired or serviced, I don't know what you're telling me. It's very difficult for me to make an independent assessment of whether or not you're telling me the truth or not. I have to trust you. I've used this example in the past. My current mechanic, I trust very, very much. He also happens to be a client now, but before he was ever my client, I knew him from a networking group I was involved in. And I brought in my Toyota Highlander that had a few 100,000 miles on it. Brought it in for some kind of service. I think he told me it was an alternator when I told him this story recently. But whatever it was, I brought it in for something. And in the course of them doing the work on it, they accidentally punctured my radiator. Now, I've had cars with very high miles over my lifetime, and I've had more than one radiator rot out and leak out. And if a mechanic had told me, Nick, you're at 200,000 miles and your radiator is gone, I would have had no reason not to believe them. Well, that isn't the way this person operates for good reasons. It's wrong. Says to me, Nick, when we were replacing your alternator, we accidentally punctured your radiator. It was our mistake. We're going to replace it at our cost. Don't worry about it. I just wanted you to know. So to say that made an impression on me is probably the understatement of the year. I would not have known if a different mechanic chose to tell me that it was gone. It happened to leak out when they took it for a test drive. I would have been as likely to believe it as not. But that's not what this person did. You might say to yourself, if you're an auto mechanic, well, gee, that might have cost X amount of dollars. And it probably did cost him some money for materials, and it cost him labor, obviously. But the goodwill that generated, I have probably spent, I don't know how many thousands and thousands of dollars on vehicles with my family over the years after that. And that's business that if I ever learned not what was needed, he would have lost. Point is, we're in a world where most of the people you're competing against are not so ethical. You want to rise above the crowd of your competitors who do things the wrong way, and that is the vast majority of them. Do it the right way, and you'll be amazed at how quickly your business will grow and how much more income you'll have. People will sometimes use scare tactics. How difficult would it be, and how common is it for a mechanic to tell a customer that if you don't get this fixed, this terrible thing will happen? Well, obviously, I don't want this terrible thing to happen, but I also don't know whether the person is telling me is accurate or not. I have to trust this person that they're telling me the truth. And because we all live in a busy world, we all have busy lives, there's a very high number of people who find themselves forced to say, okay, I don't have time to get a second opinion here. Just go ahead and do it. There'll be an expensive cost, but I'll do it because I can't take the risk that myself or my family might be hurt. The point here is it's about trust and it's about understanding. There are many dishonest practices in this industry. There's a lack of transparency. Customers just don't have the technical knowledge to know what they're being told is true. So what does that mean? It means that if you want to rise above the thousands of your competitors that don't do it the right way, have to build trust. How do you build trust? By making people understand what they need to know. Now, that can be done in a variety of ways, but in the auto repair industry, there are some very, very easy to do tools you can use that will help to begin to develop this trust relationship with new customers and will enhance the relationships you already have with customers. You will see that dealerships, who are generally not the greatest place to bring your vehicle for repairs. They are, after all, in the business of selling new cars, and there's a very strong incentive, certainly, for them to tell you your car is old, it's going to be expensive, and hey, why don't we trade it in? Well, you want to be able to tell your customers what's wrong and be able to show them what's wrong. Now, I may not know what I'm looking at, but a picture certainly helps me understand what's going on. So let's take an example. I could have brakes that need to be replaced, and you tell me that, but if you show me a picture, literally a cell phone camera picture or a video from your cell phone that says, here's the part that's broken. Here's where it's broken. Or here's where the pad width is. Here's a little tool that we use that shows you when it's full and when it's worn very much. Things that I can look at and independently judge and say, okay, well, here's a tool. Here's different levels of thickness, and this person is showing me why it's worn. All right, I may not be an expert in this, and certainly if somebody really wants to try to deceive me to that length, I suppose they could do it. But what you are doing is you are giving me the courtesy of trying to explain to me what needs to be done, showing me what needs to be done. Brake pads might be a tough one to really understand, but if you tell me a CV joint is broken or this is broken, whatever the thing may be, I can probably see it in some cases, or I can probably see that the part looks pretty bad. This is why good mechanics will typically take photographs, or even better, some videos that they email to their customers. Now, when I say there are 131,000 independent auto shops out there, that means there's probably 131,000 people of different levels of integrity and ethics. It always amazes me when I learn and hear stories of how deceitful some of these people can be. So you might think that somebody shows you a video of the underside of a car, shows you that this muffler or this exhaust system has a hole in it. Well, that's good enough. Well, in all honesty, when was the last time that you or I, as customers, have been under our car and seen what it looks like? You could show me the underside of somebody else's car with an exhaust system that needs to be replaced. How would I know? Well, some people actually take that path and do that. So honest auto shops realize that when we do a video, we're going to start with a picture, and we'll start the video at the back of the vehicle, showing the license plate or the front of the vehicle, wherever the license plate happens to be. So the person will see their vehicle, they'll see their plate, they'll recognize their vehicle most likely, and then the technician starts to walk onto the car in an unending stream of video and shows what's going on. This lets the person know this really is my car and makes me feel more comfortable that what I'm looking at is my car. I can see what you say the problem is, and I at least now feel a little less vulnerable. I feel empowered to know that, okay, I can see what you're trying to tell me. You may have to point out, be it with a laser light, pencil, your hand, show me the thing that I should pay attention to. But the point is, I know you're showing me something. And just as importantly, I have this email now. And if I find out later on that you were somehow being deceptive, I have this videotape that you sent me that says, this is what you told me, and we have found that it wasn't. So it gives me, the new customer especially, a level of trust. It tells me that you are not trying to tell me all kinds of complicated words or scare me. You're showing me what you think needs to be done. Very powerful tool to develop trust. Now, as we said, just because somebody says something needs to be done doesn't necessarily make you feel comfortable. Somebody says to me that, gee, we have this CV joint that is broken or is about to give way. I don't know what a CV joint is. I mean, I do now, but in most cases, you tell me a car part, I have no idea what it is. There's a company which we have linked in our links for the podcast called MotoVisuals, M like Michael, O-T-O, Visuals. And it is a 3D animation company, also happens to sync with Techmetric, but it's basically a way for you to do your video, for example, on the car's parts, and then attach this MotoVisual video that shows what the part that is damaged does, how it works, and why it needs to be fixed. And again, I'm not looking to learn how to fix a car, but I do want to understand why this is an important part and what it does. If nothing else, it helps me make my own independent assessment of how important this is. But what it also tells me is that, look, there's a company out here unrelated to this auto repair shop that produces these videos. Clearly, this is a part of a car that sometimes breaks, needs to be fixed. It allows me to understand what's being done, and it makes me feel like, A, I understand what's happening, B, you're trying to go out of your way far more than the average auto repair shop will to explain it to me. It helps me feel like I'm making an informed decision. This is particularly important when, as oftentimes happens with vehicle repairs, the vehicle repair is surprisingly expensive. Probably the number one fear for many people is that their car is going to break down and cost them a lot of money. Well, those are the facts of life sometimes. Sometimes they do. Doesn't mean they don't need to be fixed, but when you're dealing with an industry that has the reputation of the auto repair industry in some cases, you are also wary that, do I really need this? Now, I may want to run somewhere else and get a second opinion if I have time, but again, this MotoVisual helps me understand what it is and why it is. I also have to ask myself, well, gee, Is it really this expensive? Should it be this expensive? You, as an auto repair shop, if you aren't familiar with it already, should look into a site called RepairPal. RepairPal is a service that I, as a consumer, can log into, put in my zip code, and I can repeat what the mechanic has said to me in the quote. Rear brake pads need to be fixed, whatever it might be. Put my zip code in, it'll come back with the range of what that repair should cost. Now, that's a starting point, and it's interesting because, number one, you may find yourself with a customer who is new and is a little bit reticent about making this big expenditure. You may find, and some mechanics will do this, let's go on the RepairPal site ourselves together. We'll put it in and see what they say. And if that repair range is somewhere in the range you're talking about, that goes a long way to convincing me as the customer that, okay, this is what this thing costs. I've seen the MotoVisual. I can see that what this thing does, and I've seen the video you've taken, and I can see that, well, it looks to me like my car does have this problem. It allows me to get more comfortable. And again, it allows me to feel that you are going the extra mile to develop the trust relationship that is so critical to what we're doing. I am coming to you as a new customer in many cases. I don't know you. Maybe I was referred to you by somebody, but sometimes people are referring people they think are telling them the truth, but they really aren't. So you're making the effort to educate me and to allow me to understand this process. Now, let's talk about that RepairPal site for a minute because it has an interesting variation to it. So as I said, the website will say, for this zip code area, here is the range that you should expect to pay for this service. And mechanics, auto repair shops can subscribe to this service to be listed on that list, and they agree to honor the price range that is listed in that RepairPal quote. Well, let's take, for example, Repair X, and the range says anywhere from $2,000 to $3,000. Well, customer may naturally think, well, it should only cost me $2,000. And you may really, very realistically realize it probably will cost $3,000 for a lot of reasons, not the least of which is I offer a 1-year warranty, nationwide road service, all the things that we do. My mechanics are all ASE certified, whatever the valid reasons there are for you to feel that your price is not going to be the cheapest. Now, I've seen examples that are really, really interesting, and I've seen mechanics, I've listened to examples of mechanics that will do this. So admittedly, this is going the extra mile as the mechanic to show this to your customer, but you may decide, especially early on, that I want to make this effort because it'll go a long way towards me convincing the customer that I have their best interest at heart. Well, there'll be 4 or 5 shops, let's say, listed in your area that will take care of this project. And you might literally call up one of those shops, pull up a picture of the shop online, and it might be a less than impressive looking shop. Might look pretty much like a traditional auto repair shop with very dirty, very messy, not a very impressive impression for whatever that means to somebody. Then you call the shop up with the customer there and you say, hi, I'm John Smith. I have rear brake pads that need to be worn. Do you take care of this, and can you tell me what it might cost? And the interaction that you'll get from that person answering the phone is so powerful because unlike you, who will answer the phone courteously, patiently answer the questions of the customer, and try to convey the respect that they feel they deserve and they do deserve. And you'll get a person who'll say, well, yeah, maybe this, maybe that, I don't know. And then over and above that, you don't know what kind of parts that person's going to use. You may be using original manufacturer's parts because you know that the aftermarket parts for this particular item aren't very reliable. Point is, it gives you a chance to explain the difference. If you're a top quality auto repair shop, when you see a RepairPal range, you should justifiably feel that your price should be at or near the top of that range because you provide the things your customers want. You provide timely service, you provide the job being performed correctly, all the things that you know if you're a high-end auto repair shop, you provide. Because we all know there's also inconsistent quality among 131,000 auto repair shops. Some people will fix the car well, many more won't. You're telling your customer and you're convincing them that we're going to fix it and we're going to fix it right. Over and above all of that, you will have, as an end result, good reviews on social media. And when you get the rare, which it will be, the rare bad review, you want to respond to it. Respond to that person. Most importantly, you want to actively ask your clients to leave reviews. Your system should automatically request them. All of this builds a social media profile to the outside world that says, gee, XYZ Auto Repair Shop is great. They treated me honestly. They did X, Y, and Z. My point here simply is that being honest as a mechanic is step number one, requirement number one. If you do nothing else as an auto repair mechanic than be honest, you will be doing a better job than, sadly, so many other mechanics in the auto repair industry. And lastly, when you are explaining the cost of the repair and the detail to it to your customer, you will go a long way towards trying to put yourself in the customer's shoes. Be different. Most people won't do that. You want to say to yourself and say to the client, look, I understand this is a really expensive repair. It probably was unexpected, and I can certainly understand why you'd be concerned about it and why you may be having some second thoughts. Let me tell you, I would feel the same way. Here's why I think it's important. We've shown you the MotoVisuals that show you why this particular item is important to your safety. We've shown you the videos of your car and why it's broken. And we really want you to understand that our goal here is not to serve you one time today, charge you some fee, and not care whether you come back. We're looking for long-term relationships with our community, with our customers. We want to build that trust. Trust is only earned over time. We would really love the chance to show you and make this repair for you and understand that you will come back to us because we've done a good job. The point is, it's a relationship you're trying to develop. And when you make that effort, you will, and you follow through on it honestly, you will earn loyalty, referrals, and reviews far beyond those you could ever imagine, and most importantly, more than probably 99% of your competitors in your direct area and anywhere. So do the right job. It's what we learned in kindergarten. Be honest, treat your customers with respect, and you will find that you will have all the riches financially, but more importantly, personally. You'll be respected in your community. You'll be well thought of. You will be the go-to shop in your community. Well, I hope this helped. This is the first episode in the monthly Auto Repair Shop series. As I said, we didn't really talk about numbers here. We didn't talk about ratios and things like that. We're just talking about simple, common sense business provisions, things you should do, things that in your industry aren't being done, and ways that you can become the most successful auto repair shop you want to be. Thanks for listening, and we'll look forward to next month's episode as well.